One, Randy McKee here at Soccer 605, and I'm here with Sean Fraser, the men's coach at Midland University. Thanks, Sean, for being with us.
No problem.
You know, we've been talking for a while about some of the South Dakota high school players that not only that you have at Midland, but also the kids that you're looking at. What are you seeing here? I mean, you're here in Sioux Falls looking at players. What do you think of the quality?
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of a blank canvas for us. I think the location's perfect because for the kids, it's only 2.5 hours to Midland from here. So, you know, it's great because they can kind of get away from the parents but still be around the parents if they want to go home and get their laundry done and stuff like that. And you know, it's not too far for us to come and regularly recruit and create relationships with the kids. So, you know, it's been great for us in the past year, and hopefully we can continue doing it.
You know, as competitive as you've made that program become, it's got to be harder and harder for players from about any place to get a job in the team right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of good players around that can help us, and you know, these days, especially in college soccer where you play 2 or 3 games a week, you do need a good amount of players in your squad. You can't just have 11 players these days. You've got to have like 24, 25 that really contribute. So, I mean, it's great for us that we can, like I said, get players from, you know, the local, you know, locations around here that are capable of coming in, not only coming in and doing well, but doing well straight away as freshmen and really making a difference in training and the practices every day and stuff like that. So it's perfect.
You know, you've had some South Dakota players and have a couple of guys who are doing really well for you right now.
Yeah, we've got 2 on the roster now who are both going to be sophomores. Tanner Hoffman, who played with this club actually with Dakota Alliance, and he was fantastic for us last year. Training every day, he was working himself into the ground. He was in the gym every day, always wanting to learn in the video room every day. He got some good playing time and he contributed really well for us. And then Nick Jensen, who also contributed really well, and he managed to get himself on the field a few times. You know, so it was great for us to have those 2 guys, and they added a lot to our success last year.
So, you know, Sean, about anybody listening to this right now will be able to tell that you probably didn't grow up in the United States. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you've come up through the soccer life?
Yeah, I mean, I just obviously started playing. I'm from Newcastle in England, which if anyone knows anything about Newcastle, it's a place that really loves its soccer. You know, that's number 1 there over anything else. That's the king. So it's something that I've grown up with since I could, you know, remember anything. I always remember, you know, the first game I went to, 1990, which was Newcastle against Millwall. When I went with my dad. I was like 6 or 7 years old, freezing cold, mind, but that was my first memory, and it's I've just gone from there really. Just I'm so lucky that I get to coach and to be around good young soccer players every day, and it's something that I'm really fortunate to do.
You know, having grown up in that environment and in a country where soccer is the sport, and actually where soccer was born at, you know, I guess, but you know, what do you see in terms of how the players and programs in the U.S. are coming up to the level of the rest of the world? Yeah,
I mean, the growth, MLS and all that stuff in America has been absolutely tremendous, and I'd anticipate that the World Cup's going to help massively. I think it was absolutely incredible how the American public got behind their national team this World Cup, and I do hope that helps sort of soccer in this area and soccer in America. Obviously also the next step was the National Centre, which is not far from here in Kansas. That's just going to be built soon. Some great players are coming over to America to play. You know, Kaká's just signed for Orlando, Lampard, David Villa, Thierry Henry's here, Beckham's been here, so it's growing. You know, I think the big step for America is to really understand that it's a big country. It's different to a small island like England or the Netherlands or Germany, so they need to really figure out their own way of doing things, you know, whether the academy setup or club setup's best for them, but it's getting there, and it can only get better.
How did you get into coaching, and how did you come to the U.S. to start doing what you're doing?
When I was about 16, 17 years old, I took a level 1 base coaching course and loved it. I was lucky I had a coach back home. His name was Paul McHugh, and he really made an impact on me. He was from Newcastle and stuff like that, and really made an impact on what I was as a soccer player. And those guys actually put me on the course, and then my dad actually had a club and a team that he was running, and I used to do some regular coaching with them, and just loved it, and always wanted to be a coach. I was always interested in the philosophy of the game and the tactics and stuff like that. Never wanted to switch off from learning. Took a few other courses as I went on through the UEFA system, and come over here and continued to do that, continued to study the game in my own time, regularly studying teams and players and stuff like that, just to continue learning all the time. And it's brilliant, and it's a pleasure, and it's great because you're competing against other people, and you want to win, and you want to play good soccer, and you want to make your kids have a good experience, and I've been lucky enough to do a little bit of that so far. So yeah.
So in to kind of flesh out your kids having a good experience, one thing that we always talk about, especially at the college level, is what kind of college you have. And I always ask coaches, what are a couple of the reasons why any player or really any student should look at Midland?
Well, Midland really has done a really great job of creating a campus community outside of athletics that is really safe, beneficial, academically, great. The advisors and stuff do a fantastic job. Student development do a great job of turning 18-year-old boys and girls into men by the time they're 21 and 22, getting out of there, and it's fantastic to see the kids do that through Midland. It really is an extraordinary experience. The athletic programs are really getting better, and then obviously the spin-off as well is they're only 20 minutes from a really big, cool town in Omaha, Nebraska. So it really is a good place for people to go to school.
What are some of the things that why don't you give me, say, the three most important features that you look for in any player that you're taking a look at for your program?
Good question. I think the first thing that we do look at is their grades, and that is important for young players to understand, because I think a lot of young players and young parents forget about that, because the grades are important, because we can't get them into school, and they can't stay in school, and they can't stay eligible unless they're a good student. First, we look at their character. What are they going to bring to the group that we have? Because we have international players and we have domestic players. How are they going to fit in with that? And then of course, soccer ability. We have a player profile for every single position in our squad, 27 positions. So there's 27 different profiles, and if they fit that, then we'll start recruiting them.
Well, that's really interesting, and you're like about every other coach I've talked to. Grades have become more and more and more important. And one thing that a lot of players don't realize is that they may be competing for that one job against 6 or 7 other players who are just as good as them, but the one with the A's is probably going to get the deal.
Sometimes, yeah, and obviously it also is important in the sport of soccer, because they've got to be able to retain a lot of information mentally, and if a kid academically can't handle it, I mean, usually it's the same, because coaching is teaching, and you've got to get information across. So it is, yeah, it's important.
Well, 3 weeks, you probably have players showing up for reporting for 2 weeks, reporting for camp. What do you expect out of your team this year? I mean, you turned a lot of heads last year, earned a lot of respect, not around only the GPAC, but around the country. What do you anticipate you got coming up this year?
Well, we return, I think, 12 or 13 players that had a really massive impact on our team last year, so that's a great starting point. You always kind of go into the unknown with the freshman group that are coming in, or the transfers, but I really do feel good about the group that we've got coming in. The cool thing is whenever I walk into the weight room or something like that on campus, there's always our guys in there busting themselves to get better and stuff like that. We've got a really fit group, and in May, when they've done their fitness tests and they left us in May to go away for the summer, we left them really fit. The fitness tests or the assessments they do have some really tough guidelines to get to. But we expect them to come in really fit, and that'll be a great start for us, because we don't have to run them when they come in. They've already got that fitness, and we can just work on the tactics and getting the balls out and doing the stuff that we like to do, which is playing soccer.
Yeah, exactly. I remember back even when I was a high school coach, I was harping on the guys to show up fit. And actually, we saw quite a few seniors over the years who didn't come in fit, lost their job to a sophomore because the sophomore was fit.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, and that's a big thing as well, is obviously making sure they stay motivated and stuff like that. And I think obviously with us having the quality in our squad with players that are on the bench that are good enough, it does keep our players on their toes, which is great for us as coaches.
So, Sean, I want to thank you for spending some time with Soccer 605 today. And, I know you probably have a place on your website for prospective players to start communicating with you. How do they get a hold of you?
Well, there's many ways. They can all email me on the website. My email address is on there. And also there's actually a recruiting questionnaire that they can fill in, and that goes direct into my email inbox. And I always try to get back to whoever applies or fills out the questionnaire. I always try to get back to them within 24 hours, whether it's an email from my cell phone or a call or anything. I do try to get back to them. So those are the good things. But obviously with us we are quite active in getting out to places like this, that we do like to try to cover as much ground as we can by getting to know the club directors and the high school coaches and people like yourself who can help us get to know the players that we should be looking at. So it's quite a good way that we do things, and hopefully it can continue.
Well, folks, you just got a chance to meet Sean Fraser, the head men's coach at Midland. And Sean, thanks very much for visiting with us, and thank you for watching Soccer 605.
This video is brought to you by MyPlayerPage.com, the best place for athletes to showcase their information. Visit us today.